Good morning and welcome to this latest session in Food Matters Live. This session is going to take a more in-depth look at the wonderful yuzu citrus fruit from Japan, looking at its applications and use in the kitchen. I'd like to welcome our guest for today, Maxim McDonald, director of Gerald McDonald. And also Koj, who is a Masterchef finalist and a Japanese cuisine specialist. So if you have any questions at all about that you'd like to put to Andrew or to Maxim, then please just put them in the Q&A function on the right-hand side of your screen. But you can ask them at any stage and then we'll answer those questions at the end. So I'm going to hand over firstly to Maxim. So Maxim, over to you.
Thank you very much, and hello to everyone. It's a great pleasure to be presenting to you today. Before I hand over to Koj, who will be presenting some practical demos with yuzu, I'll give a quick background presentation on this wonderful fruit and why it's so special. Just for your information, we started getting involved in yuzu when we set up our office in Japan, which is where we source our yuzu juice from and ship it around the world from there, but particularly to Europe and North America. So first of all, what exactly is yuzu? Well, it's an Asian citrus fruit which originates in China, and 1,000 years or so ago, it found its way to Japan and South Korea. And those are the two main areas where it's grown today. There's some other parts of the world where it's grown, but for exporting, those are still the two main areas. Juice is the main use, so that's the NFC, which stands for not from concentrate. So that's literally the juice that's squeezed out of the fruit. Compared to concentrate, which is when the water is evaporated. So it's the natural pure juice that's mainly used. You can see on the right there's actually a photo of the yuzu fruit. So you can see that it's the color of a lemon and roughly the shape of an orange, a bit bumpier on the surface, which the Guardian described once as the citrus fruit that looks like it fell off a lorry, which is a bit unkind. But onto my next point, you'll see why it's so special because of the complex taste it has. People describe it as a cross between lemon, grapefruit, and mandarin. And we've had samples of this juice at our stand at Food Matters Live and other food shows, and just to see people's faces when they try it for the first time and trying to put their finger on exactly what the taste is like is fantastic. And so it's almost like it's a familiar taste, but unfamiliar enough still to be quite exotic. And it has a lot of applications. So a bit like lemon juice, you can use it in all sorts of food applications as well. There are health claims. There have been lots of health claims recently regarding citrus fruit around vitamin C, particularly, and how it helps boost the immune system. Obviously, you have to be very careful with what you claim, but there have been reports that yuzu has 5 to 10 times the amount of vitamin C that lemon does, for example. But you just bear that in mind, but be careful with whatever you claim, of course. And then the length of time to grow, stupid yuzus. That's quite perhaps considered quite a mean phrase, but it's actually meant as a term of endearment. It comes from a Japanese expression regarding yuzus, which goes 3 years for peaches and chestnuts, 8 years for persimmons, and 18 years for stupid yuzus, until they bear the first fruits. That's because yuzu trees are known to grow very slowly in Japan, as they use what's called the misho growing method, which means literally starting from scratch, growing from the seed, which takes about 15 to 20 years before the yuzu trees can bear fruits. But that explains as well why the quality is so good. So I mentioned some of the the applications for yuzu are quite versatile, but if we start with how it's traditionally used in Japan, first yuzu ponzu sauce, which is soy sauce and yuzu juice. This is used as a dressing for salads or as a dipping sauce in Asian cuisine. Then we have yuzu juice, just the straight juice itself, which can be used in all sorts of food. And then yuzu drinks, because the yuzu juice, like lemon juice, is rather acidic and can't be drunk by itself. Normally it's used in a blend with other ingredients for drinks. And this is how it's been. These are some examples of how it's been used in the West in recent years. Here we have a salad sauce, a yuzu salad sauce, which is using it in quite a traditional way. But what's nice about this one is that it's using it as well with local product. So rapeseed oil products from the Cotswolds. So it's a nice fusion there between East and West. And then we have Tropicana, mandarin, mango, and yuzu juice product from the continent. And this is, I was rather skeptical when I was about to try this for the first time, thinking that the mango flavor would just be too overpowering and you wouldn't get enough of the yuzu. But I was actually pleasantly surprised when I tried it. Yes, the mango does pack a punch, but you really could pick up those yuzu floral notes, especially at the end of drinking it. And then we have Fentimans, who have a yuzu tonic out. So Fentimans is a premium drink company. And I think it was only a matter of time, really, that before they were going to use or have yuzu in their product range. And this is used to be mixed with spirits, such as gin, which yuzu works particularly well with. And then just quickly, fruited sour beers are all the rage. So gets lots of inquiries from craft breweries. So yuzu is being used in that. Fever Tree have come out with a lime and yuzu soft drink in the States. Notice in the description they mention the provenance, Japanese yuzu, just to give it that extra quality. And apple cider vinegar, which is very popular at the moment. First thing in the morning, it makes sense to have yuzu with that because it's quite refreshing to give you that morning pick-me-up. And then also I just wanted to show you some non-drink applications as well. So we have yuzu chocolates. We get a lot of inquiries from ice cream manufacturers for yuzu to be used for, say, yuzu sorbet in ice creams, in tubs like this. Haagen-Dazs are using it in this way. Also yogurts and desserts. Skincare as well, cosmetics. That wouldn't actually use the yuzu juice. That would just use the essential oil of the yuzu. So our yuzu juice does retain the essential oil, but it can also be supplied separately if you just wanted the essential oil. So this is how it's normally used in skincare. And this just shows that applications are not slowing down. So soft drinks are the most popular category, alongside sauces and seasonings. But I still feel there's a lot of potential in confectionery and snacks. And I think it's only a matter of time before more manufacturers in these categories sort of cotton onto the potential of yuzu as it becomes more and more popular. So that's the presentation. Thank you very much. Just to say, yes, we're stocking it. As you see our company site there, we stock yuzu in our warehouse in Essex. We're also stocking it in Rotterdam, North America, and Japan. So we're covering large part of the world. That's a photo of me when I was out in Japan inspecting the yuzu harvest. Hopefully you'll be able to travel again, ideally at the end of the year when the harvest actually takes place in Japan. And there are my contact details there below. So if you want to ask me anything or follow up with me on anything, I'm happy to do so. That's it from me. I'll put the video on to show the practical demo now of yuzu from Kodge.
Welcome to Food Matters Live. Yuzu is a unique Japanese fruit that you can use in place of lemon or any other citrus fruits. And I'm going to start with a cocktail because all good meals start with a cocktail. We're going to add 15 mils of yuzu juice. And this is a very simple cocktail that I'm just going to build. And then I'm going to use a Japanese gin from Hyogo. And it's got citrusy notes which will be enhanced by the yuzu juice. I'm going to do a single measure of that. And then finally, I'll top it with ginger ale. Little mix. And I've called this one the yuzu foghorn. Cheers. Right, recipe 2, yuzu tart. So all we're doing is taking a basic tarte au citron, classic French dish, and giving it a boost with yuzu. Now I'm lucky enough to have yuzu juice here, and also some yuzu zest. Other than that, it's the usual ingredients. We're basically making a lemon curd that's given an extra zing from yuzu. So lemons, sugar, sweet and sour, eggs to help set the curd, and also some butter, which again, once that's refrigerated, will help set the curd so that it's we can cut it, but it's still lovely and soft and wobbly. So, first thing first, let's pop the sugar into the saucepan. A couple of eggs, 2 whole eggs, and the zest of the lemons. So the zest of the lemons goes in. There you can see the zest. A little bit of yuzu zest, extra flavour, it's frozen. So I can just use a little bit and pop it back in the freezer. So, eggs, sugar, lemon zest, yuzu juice, and the juice of 2 lemons. And finally, 150 grams of butter, straight in. And pop this onto the heat. So we're just going to gently heat this. I've got this on heat 2. Bring it up to temperature, and slowly the eggs will start to cook and the butter will start to melt. And then as it rises, I'm just going to keep checking it. 50, 55. As it gets towards 80 degrees, it should start to thicken. And then you want to be very careful around 82, 83 degrees, because the eggs will start to scramble at that temperature. Once it hits about just over 80, just get ready to pull that off the heat. And it's starting to thicken, lovely golden yellow colour, very thick and glossy. Pull that off and strain the curd through a sieve. This will take out any of the lemon zest and also any little bits of egg that have just got a bit too hot. See how thick that is. So a thick custard, rub that with the back of a spatula. And that is your curd ready to fill into the tart case. And then just pour that straight in. Make sure it doesn't go to the sides. I have made this recipe almost perfectly to fill this tart case. Okay. We'll leave that to set at room temperature and then put it into the fridge to chill.
Absolutely perfect.
Okay.
Nice.
And then if it was Massimo Bottura, he'd drop it, right?
Yes, exactly.
So I've just frozen these raspberries and then they smash into, and I'll just decorate that like that. Oops. Oregano. So this is just basically the flour that tastes of oregano.
Oh. Edible then.
Yes, edible, yeah. Right, time for the third and final recipe with yuzu juice. And this one is ponzu sauce. And you'll see now why I started with cocktail. This is very much like making cocktails. And it's very simplest. It's citrus juice with soy sauce. But there's a little bit more to it than that as well. We'll start with 45 milliliters of soy sauce. That is 3 tablespoons. Then a tablespoon of yuzu juice. Uh, 10 mils of vinegar. And 15 mils of mirin, a tablespoon. 15 mils of dashi stock. There we go. So 5 ingredients in your ponzu sauce. So you've got the saltiness of the soy sauce, the sourness of the vinegar, the sweetness of the mirin, the background umami of the dashi, and then over the top, the bright perfumed acidity of the yuzu juice. And you can use this neat just to dress sashimi, or you can whisk it into softened butter and brush that onto sweet corn as it's grilling on the barbecue, or you could whisk it into mayonnaise and have a ponzu style mayonnaise. You could then turn that ponzu mayonnaise into like a tartar sauce with some chopped pickled cucumbers and capers, and use that to have as a sauce with fried fish or anything with breadcrumbs. Thank you very much for your attention. Let's go back to live.
Thank you, Kodge, for that. And also thank you to Maxim for your presentation as well. Fascinating on the different uses of yuzu. I've actually had some questions that have come in. And I think the first one I'd like to just put to Kodge is this part of a general interest in Japanese ingredients at the moment that we're seeing particularly a bigger interest in yuzu? And why would that be?
I guess so. I find it difficult to extract myself because obviously I've been doing Japanese food for 20 years. Trying to think when I first came across yuzu, must have been probably 10-15 years ago, and first experienced it fresh maybe only 5 or 6. Yes, it is part of the sort of growing interest in Japanese food generally, and there are it's one of these sort of superstars of Japanese cuisine, and I suppose that's because, as those videos showed, it's incredibly versatile. You can use it in drinks, sweet desserts, lots of savory applications, and even I did a little bit of research before coming to this, and it's going into household products as well. Window cleaners that smell of yuzu and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it brings a bit of exoticism, and it's a great ingredient. That is brilliant for people who want to try new things.
And just sort of on that point, to Maxim, I mean, is there a reason that you sort of feel that why yuzu has suddenly become so much more popular in the West after why it's been popular previously?
Yeah, I think mainly just people are looking for more and more exotic things to try out and to have. I think as well, it doesn't hurt as well that it's Japanese, and Japanese cuisine has been trending for a long time. And also we've had some important events in Japan, starting with the Rugby World Cup and then the Olympics eventually. So there's a lot around Japan that's exciting people at the moment. And I think just the when people try it, I think they fall in love with it because it is something that's just fantastic. And I encourage everyone to try and find some yuzu just to try it and just be amazed for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that enthusiasm's sort of coming through. What's your personally, what's your favourite use of it? Is there a sort of favourite application that you've had it in?
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it in the tonics. So just having it in a cocktail works really well. I've been trying out kombucha, a yuzu kombucha flavored product of late, and I think it works really well. Sort of for the same reason that the yuzu works quite well for apple cider vinegar. I think it complements the strength of the other ingredients very well, makes them more refreshing, a bit more easy to consume.
Okay, and Andrew, what about you? I mean, obviously, there's lots of different applications that you showed even on your video, but what's your favourite one?
Sorry,
it's all right. It's live.
That's automatic windows opening. Please be quiet.
Okay, they've joined the presentation.
Okay, they've done their thing now. My favourite one was the cocktail, which I did last week. It's interesting what Maxim said earlier about mango and yuzu. Yuzu is this. I try and compare ingredients to like musical instruments in an orchestra. If they're well balanced, they can you can have a French horn and a cymbal, and you'll both hear them, but you'll hear them both. And yuzu is like the cymbal. You'll always hear it over the top of things. But in that one, where it's with ginger ale, it's great because, ginger's got that like sort of fieriness that you could be great in winter. But equally, the yuzu, because of the length of that drink and because of the sort of citrus notes, it's equally good in a summer context. It's very refreshing. And you get both the yuzu and the ginger, and both are very strong flavors. But they are like, they're like the horn and the cymbal going at the same time. You hear them both. But it's cool.
Yeah, it's complementary. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And sort of taking this to like a product development setting, Maxim, and this is probably one for you because we've seen some of these examples of where it's being used. Where do you see that it could be popular? Say particularly in the UK, maybe. Where do you see the next steps could be for where we'll start seeing yuzu most frequently used?
Yeah, I think actually there's still a lot of potential in all categories generally. I think there's still a lot of demand, and but I think there's still we're still not seeing it a lot so much in confectionery and snacks, which is probably the next stage. It's picked up a lot more in the USA, so yuzu's been very big in the US just generally. So we're expecting to see that trend then continue in Europe, as it normally does. It follows the USA with those trends. But, I use yuzu and chocolate, a bit like, something like orange and chocolate. It just works so well once again. I haven't seen too many chocolate products, but it tastes great in that. But I suppose probably the one that is most likely to break out initially is with ice creams. Because I'm already seeing quite a bit of demand with ice cream manufacturers. And I think maybe there are more ice cream manufacturers who are willing to take a chance on it. They're a bit like craft breweries, I suppose. Like craft breweries are very adventurous. So you see a lot of yuzu with those companies. And it's a similar thing with ice cream guys. They're willing to try out all sorts of different flavors. And so we're seeing yuzu more and more with them as well.
Okay, and I got one more question that's come in. I just had to sort of paraphrase it a little bit because it's quite long, but it was more for Andrew really, and it was looking at how, whether you're noticing how some of the trends that we're seeing on programs like MasterChef, how quickly they're developing into sort of more demand for consumer products, and is it something that you're aware of when you're participating in programs like that, that you're starting to see this sort of cutting edge ingredients coming in there that are being used that much, sort of within a short period of time, they're then being seen in consumer products?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if you're a contestant on MasterChef, you're looking to the chefs who are using it, and the chefs are always being brought amazing new stuff. So yeah, it sort of it starts with the sort of high end restaurants and the chefs trying to bring new stories and new ideas, and then that gradually that sort of gets to the the broader cooking community, and then sure enough, 2 or 3 years later, you normally see it available, growing certainly online, but increasingly on the supermarket shelves as well. I mean, I've noticed even just the Japanese section in all the supermarkets is decent now. It's got a long way to catch up with Italian how Italians come along, which dominates a whole aisle. It's still very much part of an aisle, but it's there now, and of course, compared to when I started cooking, you can get anything online pretty much overnight. Whereas before, it was possibly a 1.5 2 hour round trip for me to go to a specialist store. It's not the case anymore, so that helps as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's it in terms of the questions that I've had in at the moment. What I would say is, if there are any additional questions that anybody does have, Maxim, you put the slide up before, and I'll just put it up again. So if anyone did want to take down your details and ask any questions, also if people wanted to contact Food Matters Live, if there are questions, then we're happy to pass those on to Kodj or to Maxim, and then. It is possible to request meetings with the guys in the meeting portal. If you're part of that element of Food Matters Live, then it's still possible to seek them out and request a short one-to-one conversation where you can ask any questions that you may have. But I'd like to say thank you both to Kodj and to Maxim for the presentation. I certainly think it's going to be an ingredient we're going to hear a lot more about in the future. And yeah, thanks to all of you for attending, and enjoy the rest of your time at Food Matters Live. Thank you.